Thank you once again, St. Xavier's College for Women, Aluva, for having invited me here. Research scholars might find some of the topics here a bit more useful. PhD students are also here. I am happy that the college has chosen, and Sree Sankara College also, they have chosen this wonderful topic beyond the written word. I will begin with the 1953 book by Madras, The Mirror and the Lamp, which was also part of his PhD thesis, in which he talks about 4 coordinates of art theory or art criticism, how it all evolved, art theory evolved, from the mimetic to the pragmatic, to the expressive, to the objective. I'm talking about the objective here. I'm recapping it for you. The 4 coordinates of art criticism that Xavier says in his wonderful PhD thesis turned book, 1953, The Mirror and the Lamp, where he talks about the mimetic, imitation, then the pragmatic. What is pragmatic? Utilitarian. Why do I marry a person? Pragmatic. Utilitarian. Why do I do this? Utilitarian. Pragmatic. So there should be some use value out of art, otherwise there is no use of art. Pragmatic. Then you have expressive. The 19th century. The Romantics said a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. It takes its origin from emotions. From here, that's why it is called expressive. And then you have the objective term. And we all know till the late 19th and the 20th centuries, we didn't have English literature prescribed in the universities, the major universities. Philosophy was there, religion was there, but not literature. In 1828, yes, there was a college in London, I think Queen's College London, that prescribed, King's College London, that prescribed the English literature, but not for the literature component. It was prescribed only for its language component. That was 1828. But it took almost 80 long years for English literature to be prescribed. The reason many in the Senate, in Oxford and Cambridge, questioned the utility of literature. They said science has utility, maths has utility, philosophy has utility, it's wisdom for life. What about literature? We all know a poem begins in delight and ends in wisdom. Wisdom, yes, philosophy is giving us, why literature? What is the use value of literature? What is the purposiveness of literature? This was the question that was in front of academia in the early 20th century. There was a crisis in England because 1840s you had Charles Darwin publishing his magnum opus on the origin of species that gave us a startling, shocking revelation that about human beings. The very purpose of our being in this world was supposed to have a purpose. But when you say man or human beings, sorry to use the word man, I'm being sexist. Humans are accidents on this planet. Just imagine the purpose of a divine entity for you and me, and suddenly there is a person coming and saying you are an accident. Just imagine your parents telling you you are an accident. How sad, you'll feel. So that's how the 19th century England was rocked by a lot of these cultural shocks. Then came up our famous Sigmund Freud, and he said every human being is basically oriented towards the sexual part. The libido drives them. Even art is a product of the libidinal instinct, he says. And so human beings are sexual beings. Another great philosopher, the Sree of Soren Kierkegaard from Indonesia, he says human beings are superior beings. Of course, he heavily influenced one of the greatest dictators of the times, Adolf Hitler, by his philosophy when he said, you and I are superior beings, Übermensch. Superior in the sense, you and I have a real purpose. Only when we realize it, we can become above. Uber means above. Now look at this. In the 19th century, there is a crisis, a cultural crisis, a crisis of values, a crisis of morals, because of all these great philosophers. One says human beings are accidental beings, the other person says human beings are superior beings, another person, Sigmund Freud, comes up and says human beings are sexual beings. So there was a crisis. And slowly attendance in churches started dwindling and dwindling. Out of 100 who were turning up every other week, after these publications and the crisis that ensued, attendance started dwindling in churches. Moral values were diminishing. That was an age of crisis. Stabbings were happening, lootings, arson, violence was happening in large numbers across society. So what is the result? Religion failed society. This was the time everyone looked up to literature. Byron said, if you don't throw a few books at them, they will throw back stones at you. I repeat, if you don't throw a few books at them, they will throw back stones at you. That is when Matthew Arnold came up with this wonderful studies in culture and anarchy. And then he said, the grand style, the touchstone method. He was talking about the great tradition that F.R. Lewis exemplified later. He was talking about how human beings can be refined by reading literature. Read Shakespeare, be refined. Of course, in postgraduate studies, they critique this down vehemently, but now those days, they needed something as a panacea. That is when literature was offered as a panacea, cure-all. Now see how from religion, literature took over the realms of power and knowledge. And that is when Oxford and Cambridge decided it is time we accommodated literature. But after accommodating literature in 1901 and 1895, if I'm right respectively, Cambridge and England, still the Senate had a crisis. What is the purpose of literature? Yes, literature is going to teach you values, morals. What is the purpose of literature? That is when a whole lot of critics from across the world, be it the new critics in America, the practical critics in England, or the formalist critics in Russia, or the structuralist critics in France, they came up with something unique. What image events I told you, the 4 coordinates, the last coordinate is objective, or the textual term, where we decided that literature could also be scientific. Can you imagine? No? We all thought after René Descartes in the 1620s, when he came up with a beautiful division, mind is different, body is different. The last week I was asking my second MA student, she was confused. I asked her, where is the mind? She said it is here. So, this is the body, where is the mind? I said, go find out now. This mind-body dualism, we say, separated academia, the arts and the sciences. Before that, like Parvati rightly said, from Aristotle you have poetics, politics, physics, everything he wrote. But academia started dividing after the 1620s, thanks mainly to René Descartes and his mind-body dualism. Now in the 19th century, you have this crisis again. What is literature going to do as a rigorous scientific model? How is it going to be scientific? I would like to allude to what Ms. Parvati said about a research done by a scholar on the influence of maths and physics on modernist poetry. Something exactly similar happened in the 20th century. They envisaged every literature practitioner as a surgeon, a literary surgeon. Like a medical surgeon has surgical implements, a literary surgeon also has literary equipments. A surgical devices, here we call literary devices. So without the knowledge of these literary devices, you can't analyze the patient on the table, the book on the desk. You can't analyze unless you are a literary surgeon. To become a literary surgeon, you should be familiar with the nuances on how to dissect, analyze, investigate, evaluate a text. For the first time, the text became the primal authority of focus in universities and colleges across the world. Nothing else matters. What do I know about the author's intention when he wrote something? What do I know about the author's audience when he wrote something? I don't. What do I know about Wordsworth's mind when he wrote the Daffodils? Maybe the Daffodils was not a flower at all. It must have been his girlfriend. We don't know. Like we don't know. So I can't decipher the decode the mind of the author. I can't necessarily decode the audience to whom she wrote it. But what I can do is, I have the text at my disposal. So, the text is an autonomous entity in itself, which I can decipher. For example, I wanted lonely as a cloud. The new critic or the practical critic takes one word from there. wandered. What does the word wander mean? Aimless, without any purpose, without any goal. When you have an aim, you don't get joy. When you have a goal, it kills you. When you have a purpose, it spoils you. Just wander. And the last line he says, no, this impulse of delight, how it has transformed me personally. Take the text, nothing else matters. If you analyze anything else, it is a fallacy, he says. So the new critics were one of the first, like the practical critics, they analyzed the text for the sake of the text. 1917, the famous essay that Victor Shklovsky wrote, Art as Technique, or another translation from the original Russian, Art as Device. What is art as device? How well do you know your mother? How well do you know your father? I asked this to one of my nieces, very playful, mischievous nieces. How well do you know your mother? She says, I know my mother very well. What do you know about her? Where did she do her schooling? Oh, I don't know that. Where did she do her college? I don't know that. So how well do you know your mother? I know her. How well do you know your father? Where did he study his schooling? LKG, UKG? I don't know. So how well do you know? Most of the times, we take things around us, people around us, for granted. Victor Shklovsky says, we take the text also for granted. Defamiliarize the text. Defamiliarize your father. You will see a new perspective emerging on the way you look at your father. Defamiliarize your mother. See a beautiful technique, no? Defamiliarization as technique. That's why it is art as technique. Then you had a host of other scholars. I will just restrict myself to one more. Walter Benjamin. We also have a Benjamin here, Goat Days, Jasmine Days. I came to one of the little fairs and also got a sign from him. Walter Benjamin, 1935, he wrote a very fabulous essay. See, most of these theorists, they have the essays that are trump cards for the theories, not necessarily books. It's the essays that are trump cards for the theories. Derrida, an essay that he gave, 1966, 21st October. Structure, sign and play. Catapulted into instant fame. So this particular essay, the work of art in the age of mechanical reproduction. Just imagine this is a work of art. This is a work of art, right? This was this tissue paper that was gracefully given to me this morning. Just imagine this work of art, it contains a painting in it, real painting in it. It was crafted or painted when in 1917. Now what the Benjamin asks, can I reproduce this painting today? Can I reproduce this painting today? You will say yes, isn't it? Just to take a photo. Good pixel, DSLR, SLR, whatever camera, take a picture, you get exactly as it is. Reality in its beautifulest representation. You get it. But you know what Benjamin says? You cannot replicate the aura of the original. The aura is something that comes with time, space. The thingness of the thing, as Eliot calls it. The thingness, the thisness of the thing, as Heidegger calls it. The thisness of this, you cannot replicate. It is there, innate within this. It's something unique to it. You can take 100 photocopies if you want, 100 photo snapshots if you want, but you can't necessarily replicate the aura of the original. He says the text or the work of art, it loses its aura when it is duplicated in reproduction. When you take a photocopy of it and paste it here, it loses its aura. This was in 1935. Then you had a whole lot of scholars telling us about the importance of the text for the sake of the text. I will quickly take you to, because of lack of time, I'll quickly take you to Principles of Literary Criticism by I.A. Richards. Then he talks about two uses of language. One is called scientific, the other is the emotive. Emotive, you don't call a girl as a moon. You don't call a girl as a girl, you call a girl as a moon. In Tamil there is a song, En Iniyam Pon Nilave. It is a nila. In scientific it is direct. So there are two uses of language, says I. Richards. You slowly come to the 1960s, a period of great wrestle and tussle, cultural shocks, cultural chaos, especially in France. Catherine Belsey, you must have read this great philosopher, professor. She's a professor of English. In this wonderful book called Critical Practice, you know, the preface I liked a lot. She says, theories came to America by the plane loads. All theories from France came to America not by lorry loads, cart loads, they came by the plane loads. Such was the impact of French theories in academia all across the world. Says Catherine Belsey. In the 1960s, you had Roland Barthes giving us some wonderful nuances on the text. I'm coming to Textuality 3.0 now. Roland Barthes gave us a work in 1971, translated later into English. 1971, he wrote From Work to Text. We all know that. In this book, in this essay, he says, from work to text, a work belongs to an author. Barack Obama belongs to his mother. Joe Biden belongs to his mother. A work belongs to an author. The author has all the right over his creation or her creation. That is why Roland Barthes says, a work is authorial. A text becomes critical. Critical means you can analyze it. Barack Obama as a president, you can critique him, but not as a mother's child. The mother will give you one pick. You can't touch the sundae. But when it comes to the public domain, as a critique, you can critique him because it becomes a text. Like Parvati rightly said, everything becomes a text. The environment becomes a text, she beautifully said. You become a text, I become a text. Indeed, the grocery bill that we buy every day becomes a text. You go to shop, what do you ask for? Do you ask for toothpaste in shop? No. You ask for, give me a Colgate toothpaste. That itself becomes a political ploy there. You don't ask for a brush, you ask for a Pepsodent toothbrush. None of us go to shop and say, give me a toothpaste. There itself it becomes political. All theory is political by the way. So the text becomes a critical tool for analysis. That was the exact 1960s when you had a wonderful book written by Marshall McLuhan. This book I'm sure you should all have in mind because he borders not only on media studies, he's a Canadian critic. He not only cultural studies, not only media studies, but for literature, for us, and for society in general. He gave us one beautiful line. That line resonates even today, although he said in 1964, Understanding Media, the Extensions of Man. That is how he titled the book. The subtitle is Understanding Media, the Extensions of Man. You know what he says in this book, something very shocking, something that is proved true today. Like in 1999 when Bill Gates wrote that book in association with his friend. What is that book? Business at the Speed of Thought. Everyone laughed at him. How can this happen? He said, business at the speed of thought. He said, very soon you will have a device in your hand. In the 1990s he was writing this. Very soon you will have a gadget in your hand. He called it a convergence. He didn't call it a mobile. Right? He calls it a convergence device. Everything will converge there. You click something, you will immediately get the grocery at your doorstep. When did he say this? Business at the speed of thought. And he was exhorting or advising rather industries to go for the online medium. He said your data can be quantified. In Chennai it is happening now. Swiggy and Zomato, they know the pulse of the customers, who buys Pongal in which place, who buys Appam in which place, who buys this. So what they do is, they give counseling for business establishments. You set up shop here, you will flourish. So business establishments pay lakhs and lakhs to Zomato for this counseling because they have the data. Yuval Noah Harari, Dr. Molly Joseph said this morning, I was so happy. Yuval says in his 21 lessons, even based on the Facebook likes that you give, your data can be quantified. Maybe your mom might not know who will be the best future fiancé for you. But Facebook will tell you, based on your likes. They say just 100 likes on Facebook would do. Pages, your taste. For example, you like one particular food. Facebook will immediately judge everything data. It takes all these, they call it like fingerprint, they call it digital print. So Facebook analyzes all these data of yours, quantifies it, and tells you, hey, don't go for this guy, you'll get this guy is better for you. Facebook becomes a text. So in 1964, when Marshall McLuhan gave us this wonderful line, the medium is the message. He was giving us a very radical statement that men and women then couldn't understand possibly. What's he trying to say? Medium is the message. Medium and the message are different, we know. Roman Jakobsen told us that there are 6 facets of communication. One is medium, one is message, one is sender, one is receiver, one is context, one is code. You have 6. But here a person comes up, a medium studies expert. Medium is the message. What is that? Medium and the message we know. We need, for example, right, I have a cell phone. That is the medium. Through the medium, you give the message. But how can you say medium and the message are the same? That is where he scored full brownie points. Today, we have it true to a T. What did he say? The medium is important, not the message. The form is important. The form in which it is carried is important. Today, a beautiful message. Ask the student to go to the library and read in the book. She won't. But give a crappy message on Instagram, they will look at it. So, the medium is important, not the message. See how true it is proved not today? Not Insta, or Facebook, or all the social media that we have today. How social media has relied on the medium, not the message. And that is where triviality again begins, right? The shallowness of it. So this was in the 1960s. Now look at this. In the year 1964, I told you, Marshall McLuhan gave us this wonderful phrase. In the year 1962, the 60s was an era of awakening, political awakening, intellectual awakening. 1962, another great person gave us a wonderful word called hypertext. This is a very important transformation, I would say, or a paradigm shift. 1960s again, I don't know the exact year, 1964 or 65, Thomas Kuhn wrote this wonderful text, book, The Structure of Scientific Revolutions. He uses the word paradigm shift. He was the one who gave prominence to this phrase paradigm shift. What is a paradigm shift? From one phase, you move on to another phase. We all knew the text as having an entity in itself on the written word, isn't it? The text is having something, having an entity on the written word. But when Ted Nelson in 1962 came up with this term hypertext, I would like to tell you about the various nuances of the text when Roland Barthes gave us in 1971 that wonderful essay, from word to text. He was not really talking about the text, he was talking about subtext. What is subtext? Something visible is less, something below that is submerged, like an iceberg that sank the Titanic in 1914. The submerged layers within a text that make meaning possible. So that from there only, I think, from Hemingway gave us this term, iceberg theory of writing. Minimally, you should show minimally and submerge layers of meaning within a text that are not visible. In US, there is, what's that, the Declaration of American Independence, there's a line that says, all men are born free and equal in their rights. What is the subtext? All women are not born free. All children are not born free. All transgenders are not free. All men are born free and equal in their rights. What's the subtext? So when it comes as a text, you can interpret the text in intertextuality that Julia Kristeva gives us. Heteroglossia that Mikhail Bakhtin gives us. Paratext. Context. Pantext. Pantextuality. Architext. All these had a definite media called the written word. For the first time in 1962, Ted Nelson came up with hypertext. The meaning of the text began to get fluid or fluidic. For the first time, the meaning of the word text began to get fluidic. Why? All of us must have used Wikipedia, although we tell our research scholars not to touch Wikipedia. The reason is Wikipedia is user-friendly, user-edit, anyone can edit Wikipedia. There was a student in our college and history department who was working on the Marathas. Suddenly he found an article, a stub rather, in Wikipedia that said the Marathas and the Deccan warriors had a fight that went for 18 or 16 long years. In reality, there was no such fight that happened. But someone had fictitious, creative imagination that applied it to the fullest, and they come up with a wonderful war that had never happened in the first place between the Maratha warriors and the Deccan. And there was a lot of, you call it specifications. Now specifics also were there. Everyone believed that this was a true war. So Wikipedia, we don't normally do it for research, especially those of you are doing serious research. But in Wikipedia, if you see, after every line, in every line you will have a hypertext. That means when you click on the text, it will take you to another page. So there, you will click on that particular word, it will take you to another page. So like this, the meaning, what we thought was linear so far, has become non-linear. So that is meaning. That is the meaning of a text. As Shakespeare rightly said, Changadi Nannayal Kannadi Venda. Which Shakespeare said, anything can become a text and anyone can interpret it, pass it off as authentic. This begins the world of the hypertext. When authenticity started becoming questioned, reality started becoming interrogated. This was a crisis, especially for academia. 1996 February, the same month, 17th of February, we all know Deep Blue, the IBM, International Business Machines, heavily programmed computer, had their first bout with the reigning chess champion from Russia, Garry Kasparov. The whole world was watching, right? Like in the Terminator, you have a byline, the rise of the machines. The whole world was watching. Who? Garry Kasparov, the reigning chess champion from Russia, fighting it out with a machine. 1996, February 12 to 17, it happened. Everyone was watching who is going to win. 1996, the first bout was held. The first match, the second match, 6 matches, 4-2. Of course, Garry Kasparov won. Then the newspaper said, it is the human who won. So next year, 1997, in May, again they played. Garry Kasparov lost. He lost by a huge margin. They didn't imagine that machines could take over. This was the advent of AI. In 1995, the first book on AI was written. They did not imagine that one day ChatGPT will take over our research, our paper presentations. That was the year 1995. Then 1999, Kevin Warwick wrote another book on AI, artificial intelligence. Then in 2019, the most shocking of books came on AI. It is called The Creativity Code. This book is shocking for many reasons, and this is a must-read for us. That's why I'm giving you this book. The Creativity Code by Marcus du Sautoy. I was there, 2020, when he was in the Times Literary Festival. I was there to get a signed copy from him. He released the book there. The Creativity Code by Marcus du Sautoy. What does he say in this book? For the first time, we all thought until the 1990s that creativity alone is the domain of humans. No one can come near it. Whatever else you want, you do. Producing like aura, the word aura, what the Benjamin said, you reproduce whatever you do. Creativity alone is the only domain peculiar to human beings. Because creativity is generating something new that is creative, that is value. Computers can't do it. something that has value, you and I will know what has value, so we'll create it. Computers will churn out like large numbers. So creativity code, for the first time, he gave us a shocker on the concept of the text. You know what he said? Even the machines can create. Till then we thought generation is thing. 1961, when OULIPO, an organization was started in France. Raymond Queenie wrote a very shocking first hypertext, we can call it. 100 billion poems. This was the title of the work that he wrote. How many poems are there? Just 10 poems are there, just 10 sonnets are there. But these 10 sonnets rearranged, 10 to the power of 14, it can give you 100 billion thousand poems, he says. 1961. He did it in association with a mathematician again. 1961, you can generate, but you can't create. You can generate. They say to read this poem, it will require at least 10 lives. That is, if a person has an averaging of 80 years, he will require 10 lives to read all those poems. Even if he or she were to read it quickly, in a jiffy. This was 1961. Then in the year 2019, you have creativity code saying, you can make the computer to write. The subtitle of the book is like this: How AI can write, paint, think. This is the subtitle, right? Creativity code, colon, how the AI can write, paint, write, think. The last one is think. Can machines think? We thought that machines cannot think. Only we could think. This is the beginning of a revolution in creativity. 2019. You know what? He gives us a challenge at the end of the book. Even I couldn't find out. You know what he says? One huge paragraph in this book has been written by the computer. If you find out, give it to me, I'll give you a prize, he says. But no one so far, I think, has found out that paragraph written by the AI. This was in 2019. We are now eons later. 5 years is a huge period of time when it comes to the Digitalscape. So, where is the text? Like this morning we heard, from the mono model, we have gone into multimodality. The era of multimodality. I will give you I have a cell phone as a memorabilia that I took deliberately from my past, 2006. I'll show it to you just a minute. Just as an example, you all must have been familiar with this old cell phone of the past, vestiges of the past, you can call it. So cute, no? Right? 2006, for the first time Facebook came up. So Facebook button is there. If you press this, it will take you to Facebook. You have to squeeze your eyes to see what's there. I still relish it. Can I use this phone to teach something about cell phone to today's Gen Z? That's the question. Can I use an outdated approach to teach a new technology to a new generation of students? That is where multimodality requires a new pedagogy. The existing pedagogy that looks at the text only from a monovalent perspective, a monomodal perspective. Now you'll ask me this question, sir, multimodality means what? Isn't it monomodal to multimodal? Multimodal means what? Very simple for the research scholars. I'll give you the simple example. Right from 24 centuries ago, when the Roman orators gave us their wonderful speeches, we are told that the Roman orators swept the courts of Rome. That was the power of the oratory. Logos, ethos, pathos, they swept the courts of Rome. Today, if you ask our students, the CEOs, I am the Dean of Students there. So student cabinet members will come and meet me every now and then. Sir, we would like to plant trees in our campus. We'd like to have, April 14th is World Earth Day. So they said, we'd like to plant trees in our campus. Yeah. For every sentence, they'll use 10 likes. Sir, like, sir, one plant, sir, here, sir, like, sir. and 2 plants there, sir, like, sir. Then I said, Sharan, without using the word like, can you write one sentence? Then he was blinking. Sir, but it is natural now, sir. Without using all these, like, can you generate at least once? 24 centuries ago, the Roman orators were known for their oratory where they did not use like. And they used a lot of expressions, facial expressions, body language, eye contact. The way they enunciated was something fabulous. When was this? 24 centuries ago. That is why they say you can win an argument through your speech. Those days, the courts, President Truman did that. If you can't convince them, confuse them. How? Through your speech. Right? So fabulous. So this is multimodality. Instead of standing erect and saying something, you use your body, your features, enunciate. 2002, Desmond Wallace gave us this wonderful book called People Watching. It was 1978 original, man watching, but then it became a sexist and an outdated term. So in 2002, he gave us this wonderful book titled People Watching. That book is one of the pioneering books in soft skills. You know why? He says 78% of our communication depends on body language. That is multimodality. 78% of what I speak doesn't depend on what I speak, but how I speak it. The how comes in there. The eyes, the way I turn my body, the way I use my hands for expressions, the way I walk around here and there, the way I interact, the way I have a little smile on my face, for example. I don't know whether I have a smile now or not. Just say it, right? Body language matters, eye contact matters, facial expressions matter. This is multimodality. A weather report that you find on screen, especially every day, morning or the evenings, NDTV brings you the weather report. Do you find a person just like that presenting you the weather report? Never. She will just have a beautiful iconic, things going round at the background, and then she will tell you today's weather is like. A bit humid in the morning, then towards the evening you have a cool breeze. You have multimodality there. Today's Gen Z, not only today's Gen Z, but today all of us, let's be very honest to ourselves. How many of us do our research, be it MA scholars or PhD scholars, exclusively in the library's domain? Brick and mortar librarian. How many of us do it? We use our computers, journals. You have a whole lot of journals on screen, books. The moment the Nobel laureate was announced, I still remember, Moyan was announced 2012, Chinese Nobel laureate. The next moment in the groups they were asking, sir, do you have the books of PDF copies of, right, Moyan? Then 2021, if I'm right, Olga Tokarczuk won her Nobel Prize. The next question was, sir, do we have PDF copies of Olga's, she's a Turkish writer, no? Her novels available online. PDF copies. And recently, who is that professor from England, professor of, I forgot his name, professor of postgraduate studies, he won the Nobel Prize. The next moment they started asking, so do we have PDF copies? Today, the entire world has gone digital, and they envisage that in the next 10 to 20 years, it is a bleak future as far as mortar and brick libraries are concerned. Sorry to say this, but they say libraries will have to shut down in the next 10 to 20 years. You read that wonderful book by David Crystal called Language Death. He says every year hundreds of languages are dying. Like that, in the next 10 years they say libraries have to shut down because business is happening at the speed of thought. When Stephen Hawking wrote his 1988 book, the title of the book is, what's that? A Brief History of Time. You know what he was telling us? He said something very shocking. When will the world end? When there is a saturation of technology, the world will automatically self-destroys. When there is today we are having almost a saturation, right? Everything that we do online is being monitored. We leave digital prints. What are the sites we go to? Where exactly do we launch? How many, this morning my cell phone was congratulating me. We have used 55 minutes less of phone time this week compared to last week. And it was appreciating me, right, that I have been using less phone time and spending maybe rather like me time. Where are we headed in this scenario? Obviously, today's kids need a different pedagogy to address. And today, we have what is called FaceTime. I know a grandparent who tells me so proudly that he talks to his kid from the US. His kid is here in Chennai. He talks to his kid from the US, FaceTime, and the kid hugs the iPad as if she's hugging her grandpa. And she's giving a mumma to her iPad as if she's hugging her. Every evening sharp at 6, the grandpa comes for the FaceTime, and he feels at one with the grandchild the moment he's there on FaceTime. How technology is usurped. And we have an interesting expression, no? The fake laptop. Who's that? Richard Osborne, if I'm right. He had a show on the British famous TV series. I forgot the name of the show, where he says there's a fake laptop on his table. And one of the participants found out that the laptop is not even switched on, but the laptop is there. It's all the time there on the table whenever he does that show. Then people have this assumption that he was using the laptop for the show purposes. But then he found out that this curious participant found out that this laptop is switched off all the time. Then he accosted Richard Osman and he asked him, so what's the purpose of this laptop there? You know what he said? Without that laptop, I feel very alone. Very lonely. So, that fake air of superiority you get, most of the time we find this, no? In our, what's that, posters, you'll find politicians or ministers having a cell phone on their thigh like this. Without that cell phone, they seem like they miss something. This gadget gives them an air of superiority. In this era, how do we turn? The question that I would like to leave. I'm coming to the end. Right? I would like to leave a valuable thought for us this morning as a suggestion. How do we turn the textuality of the text? What do we mean by text 3.0, textuality 3.0? When in the 1990s we had Web 1.0, it was one way. You know, in the 1990s, websites gave us a lot of information, but you couldn't be in a dialogue with those websites. They gave us whatever they wanted. We were just consumers or recipients. And then in the early 2000s, you had Web 2.0. In Web 2.0, it was two-way, a dialogue. A dialogue means you can respond. In YouTube, you can respond, right? YouTube, you can respond. Facebook, any post is there, you can respond. It's two-way. So it's 2.0. But now, we live in the age of 3.0. So what is special or unique about 3.0? Textuality 3.0. The text, we have become reader response tells us the reader is also a producer of meaning. Yes. So how does textuality 3.0 gets its prominence or significance? I'll give you just 3 words to have in mind. When you look at narratives in society, once there lived a king. Textuality 2.0. Textuality 3.0 questions this narrative. What is this narrative? Why only a king? Once there lived a beautiful girl. Why beautiful? Once there lived a young princess. Why young? Geriatric literature, gerontology, literature teaches you that age is just a very relative term. Why young? Why do you quantify young or qualify young or privilege young over the old? When you say young girl, a beautiful young girl, narratives that we have. Textuality 3.0 interrogates these narratives. And why do these narratives have to be interrogated? That is the question. We all, like Derrida says, we are textual beings. Like Nietzsche says, we are superior beings. Like Freud says, we are sexual beings. Like Karl Marx says, we are social beings. We are storied beings. We all grow up on stories, right? All of us grow up on stories. Right from our maybe 1 year of age, Amma or Paula told us stories, right? About a whole lot of fables, parables. We grew up with these stories. These stories have literally shaped our perception of the world. So I look at the world from a reality that is exclusively from my storied standpoint. I can never look at any other standpoint. My language is good for me. My language is the best for me. But I can't force this on you and say my language is the best for you. Why? Because I am a storied being. I am a product of my culture, values. I can say my God is best for me, but I can't force it on you and say my God is best for you. A storied being has a highly subjective perspective. Textuality 3.0 interrogates these stories and the perspectives and the perceptions that we grew up with. All the silences, I'll give you 3 S and 3 M's to put it easily as a mnemonic term. Silences in society are questioned. See, in silences there are 3 types of silences. One is deliberate silence. One is not getting a platform. Thomas Hardy, what's that? Elijah in a country church, and you find out many a flower is born to bloom and die in this desert air. Not getting a voice, that is also silence. Not getting a platform. So one is deliberate silence, one is not getting a platform, one is forced silence. That is why in 1988 when Gayatri Spivak wrote a beautiful essay, Can the Subaltern Speak? She was talking about a silence that doesn't get a platform, not only to talk, but to speak. I just want to decode the word speak. When I speak, there is an audience. Otherwise, there is no value in my speech. That's why she was talking, can the subaltern be heard? A platform for speaking is a platform where a person can be heard. Otherwise, it is luminous wings in the void. No one can hear it. Silences, stereotypes, stigmas in society. Textuality 3.0 questions these stories that we grew up with. The silences, the stigmas, and the stereotypes that prevail in society. And then, misconstructions that happen in society. Misinterpretations that happen in society. Misconstructions means, for example, about the transgenders. How many misconceptions are there? The word nine that we use for them, no? Not only about transgenders, right? About old people. Misrepresentations, misconstructions, misinterpretations that happen in society. Textuality 3.0 questions all these. And Textuality 3.0 is liberative because it pounces on all these stereotypes that fetter or change society, that make us fetter. 1929, if I'm right, when Sigmund Freud wrote Civilization and its discontent. Civilization makes me fetter. So, what is my accountability in this Digitalscape as part of Textuality 3.0 when I am the co-creator of meaning? Not only interrogating the silence, stigmas and stereotypes, the misrepresentations, misconstructions and misinterpretations, but also making social media a professional media. Why, sir? Why should I make social media a professional media? That is the huge pedagogical challenge that we have in front of us as academics and academicians. Academics, what is this challenge? We use social media just for the fun part of it. But it is time we made it professional. We made it an expression of Textuality 3.0. In bioregional studies, I tried it out in my classes, and I was so happy to find students engaging themselves with the land. Biogeography, we call it, no? Students engaging themselves with the land. Now, if I can show you their status updates, they'll be feeding the cows, they'll be feeding the birds, they'll take a photo and put it up. Textuality 3.0 is not only about emancipation. It is not only about liberation, but it's also about empowerment. The true aim of education is not merely to give you a degree, but it should empower you. And Textuality 3.0 gives us this beautiful privilege of being empowered. And where lies the clue for us? The moment as literature people, I've always told this, literature transforms us. Theory liberates us. Research makes a difference to society. 2006, when Arjuna Padare wrote this beautiful essay, The Right to Research, you know what he said? You and I are privileged to do research. My research, your research, our research, if it has to make a difference in society, it is time we question some of the textualities of the past and reconceptualize textuality and make social media. This is the suggestion I put forward as a takeaway for maybe the next round of sessions or technical sessions. Maybe you can have a discussion. Can social media be made accountable or professional media? If this can happen, I think this seminar would have proved a very valuable source of information and enunciation for all of us. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, it took 5 minutes extra.